No, today's not coming tonight. Ah, we're in. He said I had a conflict. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I don't know.
You wouldn't know about that, huh? Okay.
Okay, town planner updates.
Trying to think as far as updates, because it seems like coming right off of a week where we had a planning board meeting, so I'm following up with stuff with that, as well as preparing for this meeting, and a lot of reviewing of documents that aren't even before us, namely ZBA application for a specific property. Just wanted to just follow up for trying to schedule traffic and sidewalk. I originally sent an email about maybe doing it December 3rd, recognizing the day before is special town meeting.
Could be the day after, too.
Yeah, no kidding. I'll just try for that second December meeting. I think the main question was, even if there was a delay, I was trying to get Bob Michaud. That was the principal reason for that meeting, is to get him in front of us, so that if there is anything that we need to get on the warrant for annual town meeting, that at least we have had that preliminary discussion, and then hopefully maybe even in January provide final recommendations to the Board of Selectmen and hold that. So if there is anything we needed, we can get that in line for with that money.
Traffic and sidewalk, I mean, the Boston Properties building
Yes.
is going to get 600 new tenants.
Yes.
In the near future, yeah. I forget the name.
Actually,
of the
that is that. Thank you for reminding me. Monster.com. I met Donna called John and I down to meet with them last Friday morning about so that they could sort of say what they were proposing, and it's like 615 employees coming from Maynard, the Clockworks office coming here. They are basically, what the person said is their employees are basically 50-50 split between 50 split east of 128 and 50% west of 128. I mentioned how from a planning board perspective, one of the things that we'd be concerned about is basically what the Boston Property Special Permit dealt with was sort of like a known, or at least an expected distribution of traffic, that we'd like information that shows what, almost like confirmation that they still fall under that umbrella. And so I'm working to put together a draft that I'll share with the board as well as with Donna, that basically is looking for verification from them that says, we're all underneath this umbrella that was established by that special permit. So that's sort of in the works. I'm going to just check with Bob Michaud as I prepare this to make sure that if there's anything specific that we need, he has some input as far as what to ask them for information. They're looking at wanting to move in January to February 2014. I had previously looked at the special permit that was issued, and there wasn't a limitation on one tenant or multiple tenants, and that's why it's important to make sure that what their distribution of trips is, that it falls under the assumptions that were made within that initial traffic report. They're not proposing any changes that's parted to the site. They're just going to occupy the building, make no changes to the exterior. So I think, more even from a PR standpoint, it would be good to get some face time with the planning board and have them sort of present like their some level of analysis. So that's a work in progress.
Last time we talked to Bob Michaud, he said that the building was only a certain percentage occupied. What sticks in my mind is 60%. And so would this kick the occupancy up? Or are they losing people and bringing new people in?
So I think by the time Bob had said that, Biogen was already starting to pull back some of its employees and move them back to Cambridge.
Yeah.
So the important thing is once Monster moves in, where are they at the percentage?
Right.
That'll be important to get at.
Yep.
Also, do you know if Biogen was 50% from the east and 50% from the west, or was it
When
different?
they did the traffic study, they basically just sort of took for the typical office use in the 128 corridor what the distribution of traffic was. What ended up happening was things were a little bit more east to Weston, but there was demonstrable impacts. They weren't as significant as what was projected, but there was defined impacts, and that's what a year ago Bob had showed us that there is a correlation with Summer Street and Biogen. But let's just say there's a lot of headroom between what was projected, because traffic is more of a conservative number that they put out there. So it wasn't like they were encroaching that limit that was defined by this traffic study. But what we want to make sure is that Monster isn't sort of exceeding that, and then the problem becomes if they start exceeding those thresholds, then how do you open up mitigation? Because then there could be additional impacts that the $500,000 mitigation package wasn't based on. In talking to them, they did say that they have a very liberal work-at-home policy, that about 70% of their employees spend about 3 days working from home. So I asked them, when you put together the information, document that policy, that practice, what it sort of ends up being in the real world. But we also have to make an assumption of what, if everyone did come to work. He also said that they do staggered start times, so people aren't coming right for 8:30 or 9 o'clock. That's basically people start 7 o'clock and people come in at 10 o'clock, and that the same thing. There's like a 3-hour window for people leaving as well, so that it's not like a bell whistling in the morning and in the afternoon for quitting time. So.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. We have a Boy Scout troop here.
We do.
Are you just sort of dropping in on town boards to see how things work?
We are. This is part of the. This is the Bear Patrol from Troop 157 here in Weston, and as part of their requirement for completing their communications badge, which is an equal requirement, they are here to listen and actively listen, take notes, and try to capture the points of view on the subjects being discussed.
We are the planning board. I suppose you knew that already, but when you stopped in to see us. But luckily, it's not going to be a marathon. I don't think it's going to be a marathon night tonight. So we're often here until 11:30.
So we'll probably actively listen and take out points of view for a period of time, and then, if I may, could I ask you all to introduce yourselves so
Sure.
the boys can write down your names and so they can follow the points of view from each individual?
I'm Al Adelot. I'm the chairman, and I'll spell my last name. It's A-Y, D as in David, E-L-O-T-T. And my
And I'm
other
Susan
person.
Zacharias. I don't know if I spell that. You can sound it out. Zacharias. It's with a Z.
And I'm Roy Chattelbash, and I will spell it out. It's all A's, C-H-A-T-A-L-B-A-S-H.
Steve Oppenheimer, O-P-P-E-M-H-E-I-M-E-R.
And I'm Joe Layton, Laydon. I'm the town planner. So I support the planning board.
And it's nice to have support.
Just one quick question. Did you do any research at all as to what the planning board is, or is this just totally coming in and hoping you can figure it out by reading like the tea leaves?
So I actually looked at the schedule, and I printed off the schedule for this morning, not this evening. So-
Sidewalk. What?
Yeah. So they're also going to discuss the library and what have you. So for this evening, the answer is no, we haven't. But which is okay, because this is the planning board. We've been talking about things that are going on around here in town, and so it'll be even better for us to understand the process.
Right. But we don't just do event planning. I mean, planning is a big thing.
That's right.
Event planning, maybe we plan parties, things like that. But in fact, the planning board is usually made up of 5 people, but we have one member absent tonight.
Like this.
And
Go ahead.
I'd say we're we're not just we are responsible for the long-term direction of the development of the town. As you look around, you've seen other towns nearby, and they have a very different look. Waltham looks a little different than Weston. Framingham looks different than Weston. Wellesley. You look around, there are certain towns that have a certain look, like they have trees, and we will be talking about trees. And they maybe are less densely developed, and those are all to do with the zoning bylaws, and the planning board writes the zoning bylaws. And our town planner is a very, very busy person, because if houses exceed a certain size or are going to go up on any scenic roads, or if there's any number of reasons why applicants for development would come in and talk to us.
Basically, we're responsible for preserving the rural character of Weston. And that's why it looks different from other towns. And that's the way we like it.
So if I could just, my card, if maybe later you could email me with information on yourself and your troop so I can capture it for the meeting minutes.
That would be great. Thank you.
And we are now ready for our first hearing, which we'll have with Bob Hoffman. He's the DPW director, concerning tree clearing on scenic roads. And Bob, we've given this about 15, 20 minutes. You've got a list of trees.
Yeah, I think it's 23 trees.
Yep.
Maybe it would be nice to explain to them that you're not just the tree guy.
I'm the DPW director too.
And what is DPW?
Responsible for the paving of roads, maintenance of sidewalks, supply of public water, removal of your trash, drainage of your stormwater in the streets, snow and ice control, the whole umbrella, burials, parks and cemetery maintenance. That's about it in a nutshell.
DPW means Department of
Public
Public Works.
And tonight we're talking about trees that are have either died or are about to die.
Hazardous,
Yeah.
either through storm damage, hurricanes and tropical storms in the last 2 years. It's caused significant damage to trees in town, and you don't really notice them right off the bat until either someone complains about them or we happen to see them. I think there's one tree on this list, Summer Street. It's a beautiful ash tree, but the homeowner reported to me that there's a split down. You have a picture of it. You can see right through the tree. I mean, the next storm, it's just going to fall in half, and one side's going to hit the house, and one's going to go across Summer Street, so it's going to be a whole.
I want to thank you for sending everything via the Dropbox, all those pictures that you sent.
Oh, well, no, that was my photo stream.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get to see them. Get to see the split.
Well, I have to take pictures of the trees anyways, or at least observe them. And this was the easiest way of dealing with it. Alan and Roy, I don't know if you had a chance you can sort of thumb through as well. The photos are they're not exactly in order because the way that the streets are listed alphabetically, that was not the most efficient way to drive around town. And let me just bring up mine, and maybe we can just then go through
I was just looking for mine, but I
the
think I already
last.
deleted it.
Yep.
You want to send it to me again?
Yes, we can do that.
Is it going? Which one is it? It must be this one.
Okay, so let me open this up, and then I can sort of mention it to you. So the first one that I had on the iPad is 221 Ash Street. It's basically overrun by vines, but you can see up at the top there's not a live branch. And recommended that
That's the second one on the list?
that 221 is the first.
Oh.
180 is the second.
Oh. Is it? No, the first picture, but which
Okay,
on
so,
the list is it?
So on the list, Ash Street is up top, so it's the second one that's the second one down.
Yeah.
Susan, I'm just
It's okay.
yelling.
I mean, I saw it in my paper.
Um,
Okay,
So
the third picture's Highland Street, looks like 109.
yeah.
And that's the, it looks like it's across the street from where you were?
Yes,
Yeah, next to the right turn?
exactly.
Okay.
That's one of the main things in observing, and actually we could have had a much longer list. There was so many ashes that were around that are just dead within the right of way.
Yeah.
The next one is 180 Highland. This is right in front of the stone wall. These are overlooking the field. And again, there's just nothing that is alive there. The next one is 257 Winter Street. And there's, the first photo is sort of looking at it a little farther away, and the second I'm zooming up into the canopy. There are live trees, but it is definitely something that, and you can make out where there are some looking up at the canopy. There are large sections that are dead, and then others where there are leaves. But this is right next to utility wires, and this tree is definitely on
That was a request of the
decline.
homeowner.
Yeah, this
told me-
isn't on the list.
No, it is.
Is it?
Yep.
Winter Street?
Winter.
257 Winter.
Where is it?
I'm not seeing it.
It's on my list. It was, and I posted it. That was a request from
What's
the
on it?
Is it?
No.
I still don't see it.
You can make it, oh well.
It was posted.
Okay,
but
so
not
we
on the
add it.
list.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
adding that.
I'll have to add it to the list.
Yeah. The next,
That one went to street was a request from the resident. She said we took it down, she'd plant more trees if we want. She has a beautiful manicure,
the next ones were opposite the high school. So this is the ones on Wellesley Street. You can see two trees right next to each other. That was pretty,
Pretty obvious.
yeah.
Self-evident.
The next one, 660 Wellesley, that's on the back of your sheet. Basically, it's only a side branch,
And topped.
Yeah. top or broken, but it's basically just the side branch, and that's just not. Next one, this is Wellesley at the corner of Rockport. It's on the back of your list. This is the base, and then looking up the tree, just the center of it is all rotten, and the top, at least there is green, but it's sort of an offshoot of the main leader, and this just appears to be just crying for a strong wind to take it down. There really is nothing at the bottom. Almost looks like it was struck by
Yeah,
lightning
it
or
does.
something.
Looks like, yeah, absolutely.
Next one is on Glen Road, 447, and there's nothing.
447 or 474?
I'm sorry, 474.
Okay.
It's pretty clear there's nothing there.
Yeah.
The next tree, same thing. The ivy or whatever it is the only thing providing any green leaves on that tree. So, and you can see the other 474 in the background of that one. This is the next one's at 85 Oak, and again, this is an ash. There's just very little leaves that are left on it. The next one, which is basically, these were right near each other, 84 oak. It's the same thing. This was an ash. There's a lot of dead right at the bottom. The next picture shows more of the tree at top, and there's just nothing that is alive. The next tree in the photo is at Glen in South Ave. Yeah, I'm sorry, Oak Street and, okay, I might have just labeled it wrong. Yeah, Oak and South, and that's clearly right. This is the one Bob was talking about at 51 Summer Street. You know, driving up, looks like it's in fine health. And this is the photo that I'm basically showing. Right down the back side, you know, there's an evident crack that basically is just going down, and the wires
Oh, yeah,
are.
look at that.
This is like one of those locations as well as, I mean, the Winter Street one had a lot more trees and maybe there wouldn't be available sunlight, but this is sort of like a good overall location. You know, if the homeowner would be agreeable to putting something in its place. It's a sunny spot. There are other trees, and the only unfortunate thing is, and you can see in that the wires are coming fairly close. So a tree in that location probably would have to be something that at least wouldn't grow into the wires. But it actually is in a really nice section of Summer Street. The next one at 307 Conant. It's just clearly dead. There are some others that are behind it, but they're not in the right of way. That also are dead.
The ash trees are just going to be completely gone.
The next one is at Viles and Valley View. And it's one that at first view, when you look at the canopy, it doesn't look like it's that bad, but at the base, there's just a lot of rot. And the way that it's sort of leaning back, it looks like it's very susceptible towards falling over. The next one at 140 Miriam Street, has a lot of rot again at the bottom, and bark is falling away. It's support removal. 118 Miriam, not a question. Miriam Street there was an address because there wasn't a house nearby, so it's a full number. But when you zoom in at the bottom, I mean, it's just really terrible condition. This one I didn't mean to be in the stream. It was in my observations. I found a tree that was newly cut down on a scenic road, so I'm writing a letter to them to notify them that the tree was removed in violation of the scenic road bylaw. And then the last one at 44, next to the last one at 44 Silver Hill, again, it's just clearly dead. And then the last one being 39 Warren Ave. That's the violation, yes.
Just because I think this is interesting, because these young men are probably wondering why we're making such a big deal out of a bunch of dead trees.
Because those trees could fall over and it costs the town hundreds of thousands of dollars to fix it, because it's the town's fault.
Yeah, if you hit somebody, I think you might be right on that. Okay. But this is also what happens when Weston cares a lot about its trees. We like our trees, we like our shade. They actually act as traffic calmers. When you have a tree growing right close by the road, people are less likely to want to speed around. And we have a bylaw about scenic roads and what you can and cannot do. And this house, they forgot about that and they cut down the tree. And you can see it looks very different than a lot of other places. That's why the town planner is writing a little letter.
Yep.
And maybe something else.
So, and the last one, 39 Warren, it's nearly dead. The bottom has large sections of bark that have just fallen away. And again, it was pretty clear.
case?
Yeah.
So if
Anybody
I-
want to?
Yeah, ask a question. So for that house where someone had cut down that tree, just for the scouts, even though it's on the, I assume it's on the owner's property, but because it's on a scenic road.
No, it's not. He cut
It's
down
not
a
on-
tree in the right of way. That's the issue. This bylaw deals with trees and stone walls in the right of way of designated scenic roads. So, if he had a stone wall and he torn that down, we'd have the same kind of question for him if the wall was in the right of way. But if it's on his property, then he can cut trees down without getting permission.
So, and just for additional clarification, if you can picture the street that you live on, you have the width of the road, then a distance outside of the road, say 10 feet, that's what's called the right-of-way. So it's the land that the roadway is on, and it's wider than what that pavement is. So even though you may treat the first 5 feet after the edge of the road as your own lawn, it technically is land that's owned by the town, and that's what this bylaw addresses, is the removal of trees within that land that's owned by the town.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments? Then, motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're all set, Bob.
Thank you.
I asked Bob to just briefly mention about the new curb cut permit.
Permits, out of concern, the selectmen had concern over the damage to roads, guaranteed, I don't know if you know what guaranteed roads are, the roads that we paved within the last 5 years. So there's a moratorium on those for anybody cutting into them, like if they wanted the gas service. Emergency work is exempt, of course, but they had concern over, seeing trenches on roads that we just paved or damage to curbing and sidewalks from heavy equipment going onto properties. So they wanted to come up with some new permits, increase the cost of the regular street opening permits, which I did from 100 to 150. But I also proposed street occupancy permits, whereas sometimes we get requests for people putting dumpsters in the road for a period of time, or even leaving materials in roads, or sometimes trucks parked in the road. So we did a permit for that. We did a street access permit, like people doing construction or septic systems crossing over a sidewalk. We have to do a permit for that, so they, produce a bond in insurance, because they cause damage to public shade trees, sidewalks, curbing, just bringing excavators over on even stone walls on a private property. So they approved permits for that. And then they were really surprised that we didn't have driveway curb cut permits, which most towns, cities and towns around us do have. And that's when someone's going to have another driveway, relocate an existing driveway, but they don't cause harm to the sidewalks, stone walls, or streets. So now we have all those in place. We also have a new permit for coring. Gas company always comes in and cores holes in the roads, looking for gas leaks, and they never patch the holes or anything, so it, lets water permeate into the road. Yeah. So we have permits for that. So now we're trying to cover all the basic things so we can prevent damage to the roads. That, we put about $1 million a year into, resurfacing and road maintenance and all that. So we're just trying to.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So now that our applications, I require PDF copies of the materials. I'm going to be sending them off when we do our reviews, our consultant reviews, Bob, so that he can comment on anything that may be applicable for his permit process that we need to be aware of.
Good. Sounds good. Excellent.
Thank you.
All right, Bob.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Aye.